Hi, everyone, and welcome to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw. Wendy has spent the last 2 years helping women with various stages of endometriosis to heal naturally after putting her condition into remission. After her own healing success from stage 4 endometriosis and adenomyosis, she's inspired to heal others, and her goal is to help some of the 175 million women know that there is another way other than painkillers, drugs, or surgery. This is the place to be for real talk with real people for real results, so you can learn how to heal your endometriosis naturally. Please note that the opinions expressed in this program may represent options, but are not a substitute for proper medical care. Before starting any new healthcare program, we recommend you consult with a health professional.
Hey everyone, it's Wendy K. Laidlaw here from Heal Endometriosis Naturally, and as always, I hope that this podcast finds you well. The title of this week's podcast is Stranger in a White Coat with a Stethoscope. So this week's podcast is about highlighting the bizarre procedures that women with endometriosis are forced to go through during their endometriosis years. In the beginning, girls turn to teenagers and assume that pain with a period is expected. That's just part of being a woman, dear. Your mother or granny might have mistakenly told you. And that is what they were told themselves and had to endure and subsequently accept as a false fact. The journey then begins when a woman, having endured pain for years and in some cases decades, starts to think that perhaps this consistent pain that interferes with her life every month is not normal. It is a sad state of affairs that women with endometriosis believe that they are meant to suffer, that perhaps they have done some awful deed in a former life, which is their punishment in this life. Well, that's what I used to believe. I couldn't understand why I kept following the instructions, advice and directions of gynecological experts, yet kept getting progressively worse. So the first port of call for most women is the general medical doctor for their advice. The GP's training means that in the short 7 minutes they get allocated to speak to you, well, that's how it works in the UK, they have to use some psychic force to determine what is wrong with you. By this stage, along with the perpetual progressive pain and being worn down by other elements of having the condition, the woman may have lost total connection with her instincts and inner wisdom. She herself knows not of what is happening to this body of hers. She is scared, frightened, and unaware of when the next hit of debilitating pain will hit. Somebody said to me recently, "So why are all the women you work with scared, Wendy?" And I looked at them and said, if you had been in perpetual pain for decades, you would be scared of living in the body too. So she goes to a doctor, invariably a man who's never even had a period or knows what it's like to have one, to ask their opinion. The general practitioner's training, unbeknownst to the woman, is only pharmaceutical painkillers and drugs. Then the well-worn pathway referral to a specialist gynecologist who again is invariably male and who is trained only in surgical procedures. Most women are totally unaware of this process that they will be put on when they first make their pilgrimage to the medical machine. But when a woman is still on the medical machine conveyor belt and referred to the gynecologist specialist, this is where the hamster wheel of a surgery may begin. I have heard of women who have reached out to me having had 26 surgeries. It really is quite bizarre. The gynecologist specialist is a trained surgeon, so it's like going to a baker and asking him or her to fix your car. They know nothing of vitamin and mineral deficiencies or how the body heals naturally, or the many elements that a woman with endometriosis is sensitive to. That is just not part of their training. Their methodology is to put the scalpel through the skin of your abdomen and use hot searing tongs or some robotic device to roughly move the internal organs around to find the endometrial deposits. I have met some incredible doctors along the way that listened to their instincts when patients kept coming back after failed treatment after failed treatment. They instinctively decided to expand their knowledge wider to encompass the wealth of information that includes decades of science, and I'll say this again, decades of science, research and papers that validate how for millions of years, long before the medical field came along, about 100 years ago, our bodies had this innate ability to heal themselves. Yes, of course, some areas and advancements in the medical field are truly awe-inspiring, from the organ transplants to accident and emergency treatment. Still, when it comes to endometriosis, it is a whole different ballgame. Most women do not think to question what is suggested or shared and what she is told. We are conditioned from an early age to blindly listen to what the stranger in a white coat with a stethoscope has said. It is taken as gospel and followed without question, like the good girls we are. Then at some point, something inside the woman wakes up and she has this repeated thought, but surely there has to be another way. And then when the medical machine doesn't appear to be working, new trips are then taken to new strangers, nutritionists, naturopaths, functional medicine doctors or homeopaths, etc. Yet very few of these well-meaning professionals are trained in endometriosis as a speciality. They are not aware of the root causes of endometriosis, nor do they understand it from their own personal perspective. So I received a Google alert the other day about endometriosis, and it made my stomach lurch and flip in disgust. It stated that the global endometriosis market for business is forecast to be worth $2.4 billion by 2027. And you'll never guess who the top players in this market are. Yes, of course you have guessed it. The pharmaceutical giants who promote NSAIDs, progestins, GnRH analogues and oral contraceptives. If you hadn't been aware of this before, your endometriosis condition is big business for some. Follow the money is a catchphrase popularised by the 1976 film All the President's Men, which suggests governmental corruption can be brought to light by examining money transfers between parties. The weight and power of these pharmaceutical companies are gigantic. These enormous companies lobby and influence Congress and parliaments around the globe and, of course, control the fresh crop of medical students coming through their training every year. Once trained, those students become that stranger in a white coat with a stethoscope, programmed in one form of symptom suppression, not putting the condition in remission. When I first had my eyes open to this, I felt sick into the pit of my stomach. I felt really naive. I had no idea of the value in my remaining sick, in inverted commas, to the medical machine that was supposed to help me heal this endometriosis condition. And it's not the doctor's fault. Ultimately, they are just a byproduct of their training. My granny used to say, "Wendy, do remember stranger danger. Be aware and be awake and trust your gut instincts." I was young and naive at the time and I thought her a little too protective, but I grew up and watched the mistreatment of my mother. As a result of her years of endometriosis, she would warn me, "Never trust doctors, Wendy," and also say doctors bury their mistakes. I would come across my own strangers in white coats with stethoscopes who treated me as a number or just a body in a bed, not as a person with thoughts, feelings and desires for full health. Yet in my later years, I was fortunate enough to meet some doctors who were diamonds in the rough. I would meet some doctors who genuinely cared about their patients. Doctors who would go above and beyond their training and had expanded their horizons, their reading and thinking out with the conventional medical machine. Diamonds who cared much more about others than their own selfish desires and their passion and purpose to guide people to full health. These doctors were initially trained in the mainstream medical realm, but expanded their brilliant minds into the real, wholesome way to approach the human body healing. I may have mentioned that I've been working on the revised and updated second edition of my book, How I Ended My Endometriosis Naturally, over the past year, and I sent a copy of it to several of these amazing diamond doctors that I know. I feel very honoured that the foreword of my book, the second edition of my book, was written by the highly acclaimed Dr. Sarah Myhill, who is a pioneer in her field. She has had to endure the toxicity and viciousness of many medical colleagues who have tried to have her banned from practicing because of her whole body, whole person approach. She has helped millions of people, including me, deal with mitochondria dysfunction and empower them with pioneering techniques that show It is mitochondria, not hypochondria, as many doctors would have had me believe. So I was touched by many of the doctors' kind comments, their responses and testimonials to my second edition book, which I really appreciated. But it was Dr. Manju, who helps women with fertility naturally, who wrote to me and said that she found my book helpful and very well written. But, in inverted commas, perhaps it should be shared with medical practitioners to assist them more with their patients. It was nice to read that there was another genuine and caring human doctor who recognised that the painkillers, drugs and surgery are causing more harm than good and are ultimately not helping their patients. It is wonderful to see Dr. Manju accept valid science-based information to help their patients, especially when it is from a former sufferer who has put the condition into remission. And that has always been my plan, to help educate the various professionals and strangers that women with endometriosis bounce around seeing and on their long and winding journey to full health, to try and short-circuit the length of time it takes to A, get a diagnosis, and B, know what to do to put it in remission. Soon I will be looking to train professionals and practitioners in my approaches to further help the millions of women who are misunderstood and mistreated. However, many women may still follow the pathway their granny and their mum did without questioning it. I hope that you will stay awake and aware of the options of taking back power and control of your own body. I say this because I was shocked recently to hear from one of my brilliant students that despite her saying to her gynecologist that she was taking my pathway and programs, that she did not want to be cut open by him, that she was receiving weekly harassing calls from his secretary pressurizing her into having surgery. What I can only call as strong arm sales tactics were being used on her to try and wear her down into submission. She was told to have the surgery and also do it naturally, yet the doctor missed the point that having the invasive surgery alone may cause more internal damage and of course cause side effects. She was repeatedly told that thousands of women a year get treated here. Yet when my student asked if she could have their telephone numbers to call the women and see how they were, and also inquired, well, why do they keep coming back then to have more surgery, she was met with deaf ears and an eerie silence. Then my student received another call from the surgeon himself. By this stage, she was becoming anxious, angry and confused as to why this man was pressurizing her so much and not respecting her decision. Fortunately, she has such a strong sense of self now, so she journaled and meditated and took counsel from her Endoboss team and became centered again to follow through on her instincts and decided to continue to do it naturally. And by the way, natural is no alternative treatment or alternative medicine. Naturally is how we have been doing this as a species for millions of years. This is not woo-woo or one magic pill or anything that's hippie-like. These programs are based on protocols with strong scientific basis backed up by centuries of case studies and research. This is a whole body, whole person, mind, brain, body and spiritual approach to health, as God intended. So let us be clear, if you have naysayers, and they are out there in their droves, questioning why you are not using the painkillers, drugs and surgery, I suggest that you say to them, first of all, thank you. Thank you for your concern. Perhaps you can say, I'm working with what God gave me and most importantly, seeking and searching the root causes of my endometriosis condition rather than going around the medical maze, which is designed to function as symptom suppressors. The Ladle Protocol's natural approach helps you to identify the root causes and does not believe in the benefit of symptom suppression as a procedure. Otherwise, it's much like how you treat a weed in your garden. If you have a weed that keeps growing up through the slabs in your garden and you chop its head off, it keeps growing back stronger and stronger. Yet if you are able to pull that weed out by its roots, it is gone forever. Endometriosis is the same. Establish the why, irrelevant of inheritance or DNA, and boom, suddenly you're back in control and have confidence and courage that you never knew you had. Strangers in white coats with stethoscopes are, I hope at their hearts, well-meaning, but nonetheless they are still strangers. They are strangers who are trained in prescribing painkillers and drugs to only suppress the symptoms. Of course, if you have a super sensitive body, chances are that the painkillers and drugs may cause awful side effects, to which the generous pharmaceutical industry will happily prescribe you more drugs for. Before you know it, you rattle as you walk, plied full of chemically produced pills, and endometriosis is still raging untethered in your abdomen. So some dodgy strangers made themselves known to me recently. I was recently made aware by a colleague that a company of non-medical men had decided to write a book about endometriosis despite their previous writings about guitar music and mushrooms. This recent publication of theirs, however, has outrightly copied the title of my first edition book and appears to have plagiarised some of its content. Interestingly, the perpetrators do not even have the courage nor conviction to put the author's name on the front cover, but have put a single person's name or put a single person's book to the name, but list the author as the printing company. I wonder if they received the Google alert. Has the publication of this been all down to their greed? It does not appear to have been printed to genuinely help women with endometriosis, but to try and earn money by piggybacking on the hard work and content of others who do care about women with endometriosis. Yet my fantastic business coach, Christian, said to me, "See this as a compliment, Wendy, that you must be doing something right for them to be copying you." The proverb, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, means that one imitates someone else because one admires that person or values what that person is doing. But I don't feel flattered. I feel protective. I feel the need to keep women with endometriosis awake and aware. Kamala Harris, the first Black Vice President of America, who has fought for children and survivors of sexual abuse and against criminal organisation, says it best: "I recognise a predator when I see one." It is some of the women I serve that I'm concerned about. Some are exhausted and struggling in pain and vulnerable. Women who have suffered years of mistreatment and been fed decades of misinformation. No woman needs these shady male characters promoting to them with the sole purpose of removing pounds and dollars from their purse. So strangers come in many forms and many guises. Some may be very well-meaning yet lack the more in-depth knowledge, whilst others, well, they just have their own selfish, greedy interests at heart. You just have to look at the previous outgoing President of the United States of America. The pain, misery, abuse and distress he caused to his own people shocked and disgusted the whole world. The silver lining is that he has brought to the surface what was in the sewers before, what lay in the underground, poisoning the very fabric of our society, families and businesses. This invisible toxic force was poisoning the water wells of our relationships and sense of self. We all have a picture, a vision, a knowing of who toxic people are now, and that cannot be denied anymore. But I believe the most significant danger is passivity. The dictionary definition of passivity is the acceptance of what happens without active response or resistance. A desire to keep the peace and appease the toxic person only enhances that destructive streak in them, for they have zero respect for passive people that they view as weak. Strangers of old, in the jungle or in the plains, were viewed with suspicion. Strangers were not immediately welcomed with open arms and trusted above one's own thoughts, feelings and instincts. It bothers me that so many pernicious and wicked people without a conscience seek to jump into the market of endometriosis with greed and seek to profit from others' distress. These humans have no shame, no morals, no values, and are just looking to cash in on others' pain. It is like the people in the UK who have been masquerading as medical practitioners and selling fake vaccines to vulnerable, unsuspecting old age pensioners. I used to trust everyone and never question anyone. Certain religions promote this to some degree, but without proper guidance on how protecting yourself from toxic people. My personal intent always has been to save women the decades of suffering and ignorance that I had, to liberate them from helplessness and see through the medical maze, to realise that it is a jungle out there, and to listen to themselves above all others. To help them realise that there are so many toxic, vindictive individuals who would sell their granny and use her body to stand on to get to the next level. Let's face it, history is littered with the horrors of the tyrants and presidents who harmed their own people without respect or regard of them. All their selfish and destructive acts carried out for their own egotistical gain. So beware of strangers. My message is, do not assume that every new stranger you meet is as nice, thoughtful, safe and kind as you are. Wait until you've taken time, a significant amount of time, to fully get to know them, to see if they have a mask that falls or slips. Don't think just because we are centuries away from living in the wilderness or on wide open plains that there aren't predators anymore. Learn to recognise the many types of toxic people. I have 11 types of toxic people that I've identified, and I've actually made a free handout, a visual aid, a quick fun overview of the types of people and what to look for. So if you would like this free download, then please email support@healendometriosis.naturally.zohodesk.com to get your free copy. My biggest passion and at the core of what I do is to help women to empower themselves. There is nothing more satisfying than watching women grow in a personal connection to their instincts and see them gain inner confidence with a new or renewed link to their body, to guide them to understand what is happening inside and what they can do to help themselves. Move from victim to victor. But it is journaling ink onto the paper that alerts you to what is going on. It helps to establish the cause of any unsettledness, anxiety, concern, or worry. In Jose Silva's Mind Control book, he stated that a life insurance company conducted a report that concluded that 4 out of 5 nervous breakdowns begin not with actual stressful events, but rather with worry. And also, a study at a medical clinic showed that when they analysed some of their patients, the study showed that 35% of their illnesses started with worry. These are quite startling figures, and this is where you can start to learn to embrace your emotions by increasing your awareness of the people around you, as it benefits every cell and organ in your body. The problem is, perhaps you don't have the confidence yet, and that is why I have lovingly created a new and exciting Endometriosis Naturally Morning Wisdom Journal. It is one of a few books I've been working on for you over the past 12 months. The Endometriosis Naturally Morning Wisdom Journal helps to gently guide women with endometriosis to write ink on paper every day over 12 weeks. The Morning Wisdom Journal is designed to help guide you to write and record your daily thoughts, fears, worries, feelings, along with some inspirational quotes to keep you motivated. It also includes a daily health checker, weekly symptoms checker, emotional checker, and of course a gratitude reminder. This journal is designed to encourage women to connect back to their inner instincts. As women with endometriosis embark on a new endowash journey of self-discovery, this journal will help document the new connections and revelations to their bodies and emotions to help unravel the core underlying issues of their endometriosis condition, pain and symptoms. By starting to record their new insights and trust themselves, it allows their own unique inner wisdom to be heard and grow as they become more connected to themselves physically, emotionally, and spiritually. The journal layout and design has been structured to encourage deeper insight each week over the 400 pages, with writing prompts over the 12 weeks to help instill discipline for a minimum of 3 pages each day in the morning, which is recommended to be written. Each evening, a page summarises the day, a checklist for top care tips, and a place, again, to write for gratitude. This journal will accompany any woman on her new journey to help decipher any confusing emotions, feelings, or physical sensations in her body. Most importantly, it will track the progress and insights along the new pathway to refer back to in future years. The journaling, ink onto paper, alerts women to what is going on in and around them and their bodies and their lives. It helps to establish the cause of any unsettledness, anxiety, concern, or worry. Learning to embrace emotions by increasing awareness of people, places, and things around them can actually start to benefit every single cell in their body, as I mentioned earlier. This journal will help to record the new Endoboss journey on identifying the root causes behind any endometriosis pain and symptoms. And of course, record the progress as it happens. There is also weekly tips and guidance from me at the beginning of each week to help keep you focused internally and emotionally to ensure progress on the pathway to becoming an Endoboss. Ideally, it's best to be used in conjunction with my book, Heal Endometriosis Naturally, my Endoboss programs, or indeed the 21-day challenge to help you write your way back to health. So the message is, keep awake and aware of strangers. Those strangers turn up in many forms, from your workplace to coming in to fix your plumbing system at home, or, as I say, strangers in white coats with stethoscopes. The only person that knows you and your glorious body is you. So be sure to find a quiet place every morning and strengthen that natural gift of connection to your gut instincts and write and write and write and stay aware, for it could well save your life. To your health. Hey, it's Wendy again. Hope you enjoyed that podcast, and just wanted to give you a quick update to say that is the Morning Wisdom Journal now live on Amazon globally. It is on at a very special price for a limited time for the next 3 days at a reduced price just for my listeners. So I hope that you're able to take advantage of it, to be able to get it, to use it, appreciate it, and I really do hope that it helps you. And please do keep me updated on how you find it, and I hope that it does help you on your journey. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and rate us. If you're interested in learning more, you can download your top 5 jumpstart tips at healendometriosisnaturally.com and jump on the VIP email list. Remember to keep you number one. The world needs a healthy you.